All right, so today we're going to talk about the effect of Dreambox on math fluency. I'll leave this into. We'll talk that again. We'll talk about. All right, we're going to talk about the effect of Dreambox on math fluency today. This was my action research study that I did. Just basically why I did it was because students in 5th grade can't do their basic computation skills like they should. Our school already implements Dreambox, and we already implement the Ames Web testing 3 times a year. I just wanted to see if Dreambox had an effect on that Ames Web math fluency assessment. So the purpose again was just to help kids, all students, be successful, improve their fluency, generate strategies for faster fluency, and then determine the effect. And these are just some facts that I researched. We ranked as the United States 11 out of 35 countries among 4th grade students in math achievement in 2007. In 2009, 40% of students, 4th graders, showed math proficiency on standardized assessments, which to me is really low. And then American students achieved math at mediocre level compared to the world. Math fluency is important. It facilitates development of other skills. Basic fluency is key to higher level math. If you've not achieved this by 5th grade, you don't have the structure and opportunities to develop that fluency in other grades. And then accuracy must be attained before automaticity. And then basic math facts allow students to focus on other components in advanced math problems. They can do like word problems. Some interventions that I found were flashcards, number repetitions, number patterns, memorization, and computer adaptive programs such as Dreambox, MobyMax, Khan Academy. Okay. So my question was, what is the effect of the computer adaptive program Dreambox on 5th grade students' math fluency? I did my 5th grade class because they lacked math fluency. It's key to success in advanced math, and I wanted to determine the effect of it. So I did my students in the 2 homerooms, so 50 5th grade students, their ages 10 to 13, 19 boys and 31 girls, and then 15 gifted and talented students, and I had no IEPs. So I used the Dreambox website, the Ames Web Math Fluency Assessment, which was timed 8 minutes, daily small group work with whiteboards, and I checked for fluency, and then frequent exit slips, not for a grade, but just to check to make sure that they understand as we go through our content. Here's just the example of the 5th grade spring math fluency assessment for Ames Web, and then here is the scoring, how many points they get per question and the answers. Here's what Dreambox looks like for a 5th grade student. This student is particularly a high student, so you can kind of see she's got some higher level strategies going there, lessons, and then here's an actual lesson for fluency of fractions and decimals. So for my data collection, I took anecdotal notes as they were in small groups. I used the Ames Web rubric to check the assessments and then score them and put them into the website. And I used the actual assessment that we gave just so I could have work. Then here's what I figured out. So in the fall, below target, which was below a score of 12, or 12 students, but 76% of students met that target of 12. In the winter, 20 were on target, or 20 was the score, and 70% met that target, so it went down a little bit more. And then in the spring, 88% of students met the target of 30, which only 6 were below, which is awesome. So this is the math computation histogram that Ames Web had given based on our data. This is for the fall, so you can see all data is mostly towards the left. The green bar is average, as you can see, and there were 2 students with a score of 40 to 49, which is above spring benchmark target, and then there are 10 students total, though, above the target of 30 for spring, already in the fall. This is the same histogram, but this is for the spring data. You can kind of see it shifted more to the middle. The green is a lot higher. 5% of students were below, or 10% of students were below, it's just 5 students. 2% were below average, and then 38 students were average or higher, and then 47 students, which is 92%, met the spring target of 30. So 92%, that was awesome. This is just a graph for below above and below target for the spring, the fall, the winter, and the spring. The green shows the above, and the red shows the below. And you can see our red from the fall to the winter got a little higher, but then it dropped drastically down to only 8% of students were below in the spring. So we decreased it by 13% from the fall. So here's just a little information you're going to need for the next graph. Tier 3 are students who need high levels of math intervention. They're well below average. Tier 2 are students who need more math intervention than the average student, just they're below average. And then tier 1 are students who need no math intervention outside the classroom. So this kind of shows the transition from the fall, the winter, and the spring based on their tiers. In the fall, you can kind of see we have more green, but we have yellow and then a little bit of red at the top. In the winter, we've got a little less green, a little more yellow, and still some red at the top. And in the spring, we had 92% at green, which is tier 1. And then in our yellow, we only had 7.7% in tier 2, and I had 0 tier 3 students. So that's awesome. It's an increase of 13% for our tier 1 students. So the baseline data, I use that from the fall, Ames Web, and then I use the spring data to show, or the baseline data showed that some students were needing intense levels, and the spring data showed that no students needed those intense levels, which is tier 3. And then all students increased at least 6 points on their Ames Web from the beginning to the end. This could have been because more content was taught. It also could have been just because of the program Dreambox, and they had more room to grow because we practiced those skills daily. There was a 13% increase in students who were above the target from fall to spring, maybe because of flexible grouping, could have been Dreambox, and it could have also been the expectations and objectives throughout the class. So here's where we're going to discuss what our next steps as a school and as a classroom should be for Dreambox and Ames Web. So open it up for suggestions. Sure. Have any suggestions for Dreambox?
I write it down. Dreambox, at least 20 minutes a day.
Dreambox 20 minutes a day?
At least, yeah. Maybe the tier 2, a little extra in the morning or afternoons.
So tier 2,
or tier 3.
extra Dreambox time. Okay.
And I had a question,
Yeah.
when you were talking about the Dreambox, is whether or not we should allow pencil and paper, especially with the computation
Right.
problems. And
I think they should have pencil and paper just because they're expected to write them out on K-Prep and math.
Right.
right.
So allow paper and pencil or dry erase board marker.
Because we encourage them to do that anyways and
And
show
the
their
problem-
work and work them
Right.
out.
And the problems are going to get longer.
Right,
with-
right.
Especially I'm thinking along the vision
Right.
here. They're
Right.
going to need
Yes.
paper.
And they, I don't know if 4th grade students get that, but I know 5th grade get the 2-digit divisors and they have to
I
be
have
able to
some
do that.
5th grade
Yeah.
that do, yeah, because they're so high in Dreambox. Yeah.
Okay. And we need to check with the other grade levels maybe
Mhm.
to make sure that they're allowing some of the similar things so that
Right.
we have that vertical alignment.
And then Ames Web still continued
Yes.
tracking Ames Web.
Yes.
Maybe even for those low tier 2, low tier 3, maybe even practice that more often. Like I do that sometimes once a week in interventions 5 times, and once every couple weeks just to get them extra
Increase the
repetition.
frequency. that
Right.
Are there other
getting
probes
those.
other than the ones you
There
give?
are, yes, there are progress monitoring probes.
So practice different probes weekly for tier 2 kids?
I mean, yeah, if you have time or every other week, just so they're getting a little more.
I'll say
repetition.
monthly.
But only the ones that are the benchmark would count for your.
Well, and if they're receiving, well, you just said they didn't need interventions, if they see that,
We don't have math
that's
interventions.
what, well, that's a do, fifth grade intervention. That's right.
3rd, 4th, 5th. Actually, yeah.
Just
Yeah.
third.
That should be 3rd.
Yeah.
Just this
But
one.
I do it
Yeah.
using my intervention.
Yeah, I do during my interventions class too.
Okay, good, we can do it then.
Alright, ready to move on?
Let's move
So
on.
it's part 2. Oh, here's my reflection real fast. So this intervention showed me that we have our next steps. It showed me how it works in my classroom, that other staff members in our school can benefit from the Dreambox if it's used consistently. And then I saw progress for students' math fluency from the beginning to the end, as I could see their growth as we went along. And this data helps to inform my instruction before K-Prep. So my part 2 was our PLC focus question, which was based on the survey that we took, the HORD survey. And then I asked what strengths and weaknesses of our school staff as a learning organization were discovered by the intermediate math PLC based on the data from the HORD survey. which we know who took the survey. It was Miss Boyle in 3rd grade, Miss Spears, our curriculum coach, and Miss McGargle in 4th grade, and me in 5th grade. So we all saw the HORD survey. The questions focused as a school as a collective, not just our PLC. The 5 sections were school administrators sharing power, sharing the vision, collective learning, peer reviews, school conditions that support PLC, and 4 of us completed that. Here's just the survey that we took to refresh ourselves. So I just passed up the survey to everybody. You were told to do it. Answers wouldn't be linked to your name if you chose to put your name on there. They were filled out independently, and then I analyzed them when they were handed back to me. So on average, we were very close. I took all the answers. So if, say, the first section, shared power, had 2 questions each, I took each number. So if you got to score 3 and then a 2, I averaged those with everyone else's. And these are the averages that I got. So overall, they were very close. You can kind of see that we kind of fluctuated between a 2.5 and not even a 3.5. So based on this, our weaknesses were shared power and peer reviews, and our strengths were shared vision and collective learning and school conditions. So for shared vision, this is a strength. These questions related to visions being discussed and agreed upon by everyone in our building. Visions focusing on students teaching and learning, and that the visions target high quality learning. So this set of questions, 50% of the questions answered were 3 sometimes, which we still have room to grow in that area, but this was a strength according to the survey. 42% of the questions answered were 4 almost always. So there was only, you can kind of see, there's still someone who put a 1 that says never, but we can still work on that. So that's a strength. Another strength was the collective learning. These questions related to staff meeting to discuss issues, staff meeting regularly, on student-centered data, discussing student learning, implementing plans based on data, and assessing actions and making changes. 70% of these questions were 3 sometimes, and 25% of the questions answered were 4 almost always. And again, there was another orange in there. Orange is there is 2 actually. So, which is almost always, or almost never. And another strength was school conditions. This was arranging times to meet, size, structure, and arrangement of interactions with staff, communication, trust and openness, and then caring, collaborative, and productive relationships among the staff. 60% answered 3 sometimes, and 25% answered 4 almost always. And then we still had a little bit, we had 3 questions that we had a 2 almost never. Questions the questions relating to the shared power were consistently involving staff and decisions, and involving all staff, and this was a weakness for our school. 75% of the questions answered were sometimes, but then the additional 25% were almost never. So we still had a lot of sometimes, but then instead of going to almost always, we went to almost never. And then another weakness was peer reviews, and these were staff members visiting other classrooms and then providing timely feedback. 38% answered sometimes, 25% answered almost always, but then another 38% of the questions were almost never. So it's kind of very split, almost looks into thirds. So just to review, our areas of strength were visions for improvement, our focus on students teaching and learning, staff taking and implementing new ideas in their classrooms based on their learning, variety of processes and procedures used to enhance communication. Weaknesses were involving all staff in school decisions, and then teachers going to other classrooms to do peer review, and then providing feedback. So some next steps for our school, we're going to be we will have a safe place for giving input on school decisions. This could be a comment box, it could be an anonymous, comment card that we leave at PLCs, something like that. Have a set meeting time for discussing school decisions that all staff are required to attend, not just a stakeholder meeting like we have where it's optional, but where all staff can attend. Have time to do peer observations, whether it's during our planning or we get a sub and go to another school to observe. Have an easy feedback form to fill out during the observation to give to the teacher. That way we have it when we're in there, we can write comments and leave it on their desk as we walk out the door, and then we don't have to worry about losing the paper. So I reflected on this question, And this question in the survey allowed me to see what others thought of our school collectively. I thought the teachers were honest. It was nice to see others' opinions. And it uncovered weaknesses and strengths. And then some next steps that I think are doable for our school would be to allow more open communication and decision making, and allow for more conversation between teachers about observations. So just talk about those observations and not just leave the paper and then be done. Are there any questions? No? All right, thank you.